We praise you for your grace and your goodness that has rested upon the fruited plains of this nation. You've been good to this nation, but now our nation is not good to you. We desperately need a spiritual and a moral renewal. Help us, Lord, to face our many challenges. Help us, Lord, to turn to you in repentance. Convict us of our sin. Ignite our faith and fear and respect of you again. Bless this gathering today. Give those who are here wisdom and discernment and understanding. Open our eyes, O God, and give us courage in this hour. Put our feet on the path of righteousness. You've declared, blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord. Today, begin a new era of greatness in this nation. We humble ourselves and acknowledge that we need you. Turn our hearts. Raise up leaders who know you, who love you, who obey you, who reverence you. Let the kiss of heaven, who love you, who obey you, who reverence you. Let the kiss of heaven touch this gathering. We ask this blessing in the name of the living and loving Christ. And everyone said, amen. God bless you.
Quick backstory. I won't be long, only about 3 or 4 hours. As I've stated on numerous occasions, I first met Mr. Trump at a private meeting nearly 6 years ago through a mutual friend, Pastor Paula White. And in that meeting, Mr. Trump stated that he was very concerned about the direction that our country was heading in and the liberal influences that he believed were undermining our country's foundation. He stated that he was giving serious consideration to the idea of running for president of the United States. This was almost 6 years ago. At that meeting, which was attended by several clergy, he requested very sincerely and very humbly for us to pray with him, pray for him, and pray on him, that God would give him wisdom and lead him in the right direction in his decision-making process. And to be honest, I went away from that meeting with a very different perspective and a very different opinion and a great deal of respect for Mr. Trump. And in subsequent meetings, I found him to be gracious, hospitable, charming, very, very, very respectful of clergy, and very humble. An excellent listener, and totally unlike the media totally unlike the media mischaracterization of him. Through that first meeting, I developed a very close personal relationship with Mr. Michael Cohen, Special Counsel and Executive Vice President for the Trump Organization, and we maintained close contact 2-3 times a week through the years, to the extent that our relationship transcends that of friend, and I consider him to be my brother. I was a little disappointed when Mr. Trump decided not to run in 2012 because I'd have been right there riding shotgun with him. But when Michael Cohen called me last May and he said, guess what? The boss decided to run. I had no hesitation in immediately endorsing him and lending my support to the campaign because I had come to know his heart and was able to evaluate his character, as well as to listen to his ideas and opinions concerning Christianity and the free exercise of religion, both in America and around the world. And he makes no secret of the fact that if he is elected, he will protect and defend Christianity, he will protect and defend the right of American citizens to worship as they desire to worship without any constraints or restrictions. I'm almost done. Give me about another 2 hours. The Bible says in Acts chapter 17, verse 26, that God is made of one blood, all nations of men, for to dwell on all the face of the earth. So I stand before you today. We may be different colors, we may be of different races, different ethnicities, but we are all one blood, citizens of one nation under God. And we refuse to allow those who have selfish political ambitions, the selfish political ambitions of selfish politicians or selfish political parties, to continue or endeavor to divide us in order to continue to subjugate us. And I believe that the person that God has raised up for such a crucial time in this nation, for this nation, is Mr. Donald Trump. Because in closing, let me say this. God has always went outside of the established order in choosing leaders in crucial times. He went into a prison. God went into a prison to get Joseph. He went to a barren woman to produce Samuel. He went to a sheepfold to find David. Gideon was hiding behind a wine press when God made him a leader. Moses was a stuttering fugitive when God called him. God always chooses those who people think should not be chosen in order to effect change. I'm going to start preaching, so I better stop. But I want to introduce to you right now my friend, my covenant brother, one of the people I feel more fond about than anybody on the face of this planet Earth, the man that without him this would not be possible, because it was his idea to get all the pastors together that we could from Ohio, and that we could bring Mr. Trump in to speak to us. Put your hands together and receive him as he comes, my friend, Mr. Michael Cohen.
Thank you. Thank you all. I'm honored to be here today at the New Spirit Revival Center with all of you and my dear friend, Pastor Darrell Scott. The word of the 2016 election somehow has become racist. And a racist is defined as a person who believes that all members of each race possess characteristics and abilities specific to that race, especially so as to distinguish it as inferior to another race. I've lost count as to how many times the disgusting, liberal, mainstream media have attempted to label Mr. Donald Trump a racist, a xenophobe, and a bigot. And let's not forget sexist, misogynist, narcissist, Islamophobe, anti-Hispanic, anti-Semite, demagogue, and countless others. It's disgraceful. As the son of a Holocaust survivor, it's hard to sit back. Actually, it's morally wrong to sit back and do nothing when someone who you know, someone who you hold in great esteem and truly care about, is being so viciously attacked, day in and day out. Not only is Donald Trump not a racist, he believes that all people are part of one race, the human race. One year ago, while watching CNN, I was truly angered by the comments being made by a moderator and the various surrogates. None of them know Mr. Trump. Most have never even met him. And yet they feel justified and eager to brand him as a racist. So what to do? What to do? Well, I knew what to do. I called Darrell Scott and I said, we need to start a coalition. And I said to him, a national coalition of minorities for Trump. Darrell said, I love it. And I said, I want you to be the founder. Having met Mr. Trump several times and knowing the statements to be patently false, Darrell immediately agreed. But let's speak tomorrow, he said. I want to think about this and I want to pray on it overnight. The following morning, it was very early, Darrell called and agreed, but under two conditions. First, that we change the name to the National Diversity Coalition for Trump. And I asked why. And he said, well, that's condition number 2, because we all know how Darrell speaks. Because I want you to be a part of it, and being white, you just don't fit under the definition of minority. I said, but I'm Jewish. He said, that's not going to save you, my friend. So he goes, if you're in, I'm all in. And so we began this National Diversity Coalition for Trump, which has now grown to over 700,000 people from every single race, religion, creed, and color. You're all representative of the National Coalition for Trump. Now, I want to tell you about the real Donald Trump, the man who I have been fortunate enough to work for and to stand by shoulder to shoulder for a decade. The words the media should be using to describe Mr. Trump are generous, compassionate, principled, empathetic, kind, humble, honest, and genuine. Now, when was the last time any of you saw the media praise Donald Trump for anything? Well, today I'm going to give you a glimpse into the heart and character of Donald Trump, because every day, Mr. Trump quietly and without seeking recognition does something to help others. A trait his father passed down on him, and he has passed down onto his children. As an example, when he saw on 60 Minutes 3 families that had financially been destroyed as a result of Maytag moving from Iowa to Mexico, he asked me to find these individuals and offer any help they might need. For one of them, he paid off the outstanding debt so this gentleman's pizzeria could remain open for business. It's generosity. The second was for another individual who was a serviceman. He paid the daughter's tuition, as she was the first in her family to go to college. And the third wanted only the opportunity to do business with the Trump Organization so that he could rehire employees that he unfortunately had to let go and continue to stay in business. Here's the greatest part. To this day, Mr. Trump insists that certain items that this gentleman manufactures be purchased only through his company. And proudly, this man has been on television and credits his company's existence today solely by the efforts and compassion of Donald Trump. I can go on for hours telling story after story of acts of kindness and care exhibited by Mr. Trump to complete strangers. A man who deeply cares about people and this country. It's no wonder why, when first deciding to run for the presidency, he established his mantra as "Make America Great Again." And to make America great again for all people, regardless of color, ethnicity, or religion. Because, my friends, the issues that plague us, that plague one group, plague us all. Now, the media wants to paint Donald Trump as divisive. To the contrary, Donald Trump is, in fact, a great unifier. He's a man of great intellect, great intuition, and great abilities. And unlike other politicians, he's not doing this for the money, the fame, or the power. Donald Trump has all of that without running for office. He's doing it because he can no longer sit back and watch as America loses its place in the world. America must become strong and great again, because a strong America means a strong world, and a weak America will only continue to allow chaos, terrorism, and despair to reign. And this is not the legacy Donald Trump wants to see for any of our children, grandchildren, or future generations. Now, we're living in perilous times. America's Judeo-Christian foundation is under attack, not from the outside, but rather from the inside. We need a leader who is strong, determined, patriotic, and unapologetic against those kleptocrats who are robbing our children of their future and threatening our American way of life. Thank you. There is only one candidate who will do as he promises, who will rebuild our cities, revitalize our failing communities, restore our economy, replenish our military, and replace our career policies
of America, Donald Trump. I'm Mike Pence. I'm the governor of Indiana. And it's my honor and I was deeply humbled just a few short months ago with my wife Karen at my side to accept this man's invitation to run and serve as the next Vice President of the United States of America. And we are grateful for the opportunity. The introduction I prefer, Michael was kind, but the introduction I prefer is a little bit shorter. I'm a Christian, a conservative, and a Republican in that order. And I stand before you today with the firm belief that should we be given this great opportunity, should this good man be elected to the highest office in the land in 47 days, I know that he believes and I believe that the pulpits that you stand at have greater capacity to strengthen and unite this nation than any pulpit that we will ever stand at. And so let me begin by thanking each one of you for the ministries you have in this state and in this nation and the way you pour your lives and your faith into people all across this great state. Thank you so much for your leadership. I stand before you today as a Republican, but I actually began in politics as a Democrat. I was deeply inspired by the example of two men in particular, President John F. Kennedy and the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. They still inspire me. And Dr. King's life and his example and his sacrifice and his eloquence transformed a nation. But I'm one of the people that remembers that he was first and foremost a man of faith. He was a workman approved, rightly able to handle the word of truth. And with that word, he challenged the conscience of a nation and drove us toward a more perfect union. And that's been the role of faith throughout our history. And as we go into this campaign, I will tell you, we are deeply committed, as you'll hear Donald Trump reflect today, to ensuring that the voice of faith in America is free again to speak into the life of this nation. He'll describe those policies in detail. But a commitment to, as he's already described in that great speech in Detroit, to a new civil rights agenda. A new civil rights agenda of safer communities, of economic opportunities and jobs, and making it possible for parents to choose where their children go to school, whether they're public or private, regardless of their income or their area code. School choice will be at the center of this administration's agenda. I've gotten to know this good man. I haven't known him nearly as long as Michael Cohen has, or Pastor Scott has, but I've seen in him a heart for the American people, an impatience for leaders and policies that fail to open the doorway to the American dream for all of our people. And I can assure you, this is a man of faith. He has faith in the boundless potential of every American with a good education and a good start in life to achieve their dreams, regardless of race or creed or color or gender. And he's also a man raised on a foundation of faith in his life. It's something that we shared early on. And in these challenging times, I can assure you, Donald Trump is a man who knows that there will always be more in these United States than unites us than will ever divide us. And chief among those things is faith, that we have and ever shall be one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And also, we both know and believe, in these challenging times, with heartbreaking headlines and division, that what has been true for millennia is still true today. That if his people, who are called by his name, will humble themselves and pray, he will again hear from heaven and he will heal our land. So on that foundation and with great humility to be able to stand by this man, let me yield the podium and my typical privilege of being able to introduce my running mate to a man who's known him for 25 years. One of the greatest promoters in the history of sports has agreed to come here and promote his friend. Would you join me in welcoming Don King to this important and historic gathering?
I'm home. Ladies and gentlemen, let me say this to you. Cleveland was the best location in the nation. It is my home, under the leadership now of the great Mayor Frank Jackson. But let me say to you, as a friend and a fellow Clevelander, to the nation, 44 years ago, I brought a young man to town here to save a hospital. The hospital was Ford City Hospital, and it was the only hospital in town that was serviced black people and poor whites. And his name was Muhammad Ali. All right. Today I come to you, 44 years later, to bring you a great American to save the nation in Donald J. Trump. So why would I undertake the task of the awesome responsibility and the distinct honor to present to you our next president of the United States? That's right. It's because he's fearless, he's courageous and brave and bold enough to take on the system. Now, God is good. Every day. And all things are possible with God. They are all not possible with men, but with God, all things are possible. Years ago, a man said that when I always go out with the quote, "Remember Iowa," and a man said that to get a black president, it would be a miracle. His name was William Jefferson Clinton. And I wrote a story in the Call Post that said miracles happen in America. That's right. Come on, Don. And we see the word Iowa signaled the first coming of a black president. Several months ago in the campaign, this young man named Donald Trump, he made a speech on the USS Iowa. It's a battleship in Los Angeles. And he said on that battleship that's resonating with the people around the country that he will create a whole new system. And we will take this system apart. Now, he's the only man in over hundreds of years that has a consensus of public opinion of rejection to the government, to the form of government. Black and white alike united in a consensus of public opinion that says the system is corrupt, the system is rigged, the system is sexist, the system is racist. All right, so now we have heard a lot of rhetoric, and you hear this all the time. It becomes like a great artist on a Stradivarius violin that we hear, and you're going to hear as you come to see that they promise you everything, they give you nothing. You know what I mean? Then they apologize for their unkept promises. But we ain't gonna stop. We're gonna keep fighting. We ain't gonna give in. It's business as usual. And enough is enough. We didn't have that. Donald J. Trump, I know his father Fred is smiling now. You know that, you know Fred is looking at you now, you know. The spirit is loud and clear that we will create a whole new system. We will take this system apart and we will make America great again. All right? What does that mean? That means this, and this is why I want people to put themselves and their country and their children before the party. John F. Kennedy said sometimes party loyalty asks too much. This is a coming of a man who has taken on a system that is awesome and geniusly put together, a system of control, the mindset, the behavior, the attitude, the institutions, the law, and then they have the judges in the courts that uphold the law that makes right wrong and wrong right. He undertook that challenge, and from his lips to God's ears, he says we will create a whole new system. He said, I understand this system, and we will create a whole new system. What has happened? The whole country and the world is in shock. The first when he started out, everybody was laughing. He's a buffoon. He's a reality show. You know what I mean? He's self-sensualizing promoter of himself. Everybody was saying all these different things when he entered the ring to defend America, the principles of freedom, justice, and equality, and to be able to give the government back to the people, we the people. And 14 million votes later, and after beating 17 opponents, we let 16 go because we don't want to be braggadocious. You know, so he now is the nominee. Now you got to understand something. The party doesn't want him. Come on now. The system doesn't want him. The lying politicians doesn't want him. And you got to understand that he's here by the will of the people. And to God. If God is in all things. All things. So I'm asking. I love you. I love you. And it means so much to me for a man that is walking in the shoes. You know what I mean? When they say what the guy was carrying you, God was carrying you, or no, God was walking with you. They said, but I don't see but one set of footprints. He said, because God was carrying you, you know. And so you got to understand what I'm trying to say to you is that the white woman, and I put it in this category so you understand what I'm saying. The white woman and the slave, the people of color, when the system was created, they did not give her. The first will be last and the last will be first. The white woman did not have the rights, and she still don't have the rights. And people of color don't have their rights. Those are the left outs. Donald Trump says, no, we're going back to inclusiveness. Everybody counts. So that's why when I see them try to ridiculize him or to try to ostracize and pervert, I want you to understand every white woman should cast their vote for Donald Trump, not for Donald Trump the man, but to knock out the system to help him to get their rights, you know, to be able to deal with it. And I'm appealing to all the blacks because their vote is given away cavalierly, lackadaisically, with no redeeming factor, and they have claimed the vote by party that you got to vote this way, you know, and this is what you do, but you have nothing. He is a doctor of humanness. A doctor, how do you cure a disease? When you are a scientist, how do you discover the science of the fact of what you're trying to do in an evolution of time and progress? You examine the facts, the climate. You try to find out what originates, where does it come from? It's just like they're trying to do now with Zika and cancer. You want to find every way that you can to get it. Then you go to the cause. We are treating the effects, not the cause. He is the only man that has took on that awesome responsibility that says why. And when he says why, he had to be able to demonstrate to blacks and the white woman, the two left outs, and all the freedom-loving white men that we must put him in the office so we can get a chance for America to operate on what America was founded in. A new nation, conceived in liberty, and dedicated to the proposition that all men and women are created equal. So I am indeed very, very proud. I feel honored and privileged that I have this opportunity to speak to you. And I'm telling all of my brothers, I understand they're looking for a position where they can be close to whoever would be the president or what they can do. It's the system is the enemy, not Donald Trump. And when they come out to castigate, and you can see, they vet him like no other person in the world. You must realize his genius lies in his ability to think and to win and to be successful. All right, so if he's a businessman, you don't vet him like you would do a politician. All right, but they do. They vet him like he's a politician because he takes nothing and made something out of it. Everything that they would condemn that would be looked upon as some type of desecration and economic exploitation, he would just flip the coin and make it a successful occupation. That's the businessman. We want to do the same thing with our country. You know what I mean? We want to do our same thing with our country. I go around the world. I got leaders around the world. Presidents call me like I'm a leader or something because they can say things to me off the cuff that they can't say politically correct. He don't care about no political correctness. He wants right, justified right. And that's why I will walk with him, talk with him, and plead to the people to understand the system is the problem. And he's the only gladiator that will take on the system like the David and the Goliath to be able to throw this system out and create a new system where it encompasses all women, people of color, blacks, and all freedom-loving people coming together to support themselves under the leadership of the dynamic, the human man that would fight for your rights, Donald Trump. This is what we want, and this is what America needs. America needs Donald Trump. We need Donald Trump, especially black people. Because you got to understand, my black brothers and sisters, they told me, you got to try to emulate and imitate the white man, and then you can be successful. So we tried that. So you say, if you can get some money, you can do this here. I told Michael Jackson, I said, if you're poor, you are a poor Negro. I would use the N-word. But if you're rich, you are a rich Negro. If you are intelligent, intellectual, you're an intellectual Negro. If you are dancing and sliding and gliding, Negro, you are dancing and sliding and gliding, Negro. So dare not alienate because you cannot assimilate. So you know you're going to be a Negro till you die. So when you deal with the reality of what life really means, I learned a lesson from that because I've been on both sides of the area. When I come out the penitentiary, I had a congregation waiting for me similar to this with the leaders of our community asking me to save the hospital. And it does my heart good, my heart reflecting nostalgically. It's a joy to me when we save Cleveland and be able to let the leaders come from Carl Burton Stokes and all the rest of them that would come up in there to change things in Ohio, the great state of Ohio, to come here today to bring a man that says we're going to change the nation. And I'm honored and privileged, dedicated to the commitment of the principles of this great nation, to introduce to you the next president of the United States, Donald J. Trump. Donald J. Trump. Donald J. Trump. For the people, not for him so much as the people, but he's the leader that will lead us to the promised land. Let's get rid of this system, and he's the man to do it.
There's only one Don King. Only one Don. I want to thank you very much. And Don, that was so special. I spoke to Don yesterday. I said, how about taking a trip to Cleveland? He said, I love Cleveland. This is his place. And I said, I'd love to have you introduce me. And he was right there, and we left at 6 o'clock in the morning. He was right there, and he's an amazing guy, and he's been a friend of mine for a long time. And I don't want to say he's a good guy because I don't want to destroy his reputation. But he is a good guy. He's a phenomenal person. And he became very rich. He was very smart. He took advantage of lots of situations. And I have great respect for that. And I have great respect for him. And I want to thank Don for being here. Thank you, Don. I want to certainly thank my friend Darrell Scott, who's just an amazing guy. Amazing guy. I met Darrell through Michael, and then I saw Darrell on television. I called Michael. I said, this man is fantastic. Where do you find somebody like this? I have to really get to know him a little better. And I have gotten to know him better. And he is he's spectacular. And I watch him on television, and I feel so sorry for the people that are on the other side of the table. Because I've only seen you about 100 times so far. Nobody else has won. He knows how to win, and he loves you folks. I will tell you that. He loves you folks, and he loves this church. So, Darrell, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Pastor Scott. Pastor Scott. And, Michael, thank you not only for the introduction, but also for a beautiful speech. I think Michael worked very hard on that speech, actually. Ben Carson has been my friend for a long time, and he was tough. He was tough. Where's He was tough. I'll tell you what. I was doing really well, but there was one guy in the pack every week. I'd look at those polls. So Ben was I was at 28, 29. Ben was like at 10. Then the next week he was at 12. And I had to be so nice. He's such an incredible guy. And then he was at 14 and 16 and 20. And he went to 21, 24. I said, what do we do to stop this guy? He was a force, and he was so nice. He did better than anybody, I will tell you. He did better than anybody. He was amazing. I'll tell you what, he was amazing. And he's got, not only is he a brilliant guy, but he's got a brilliant heart. He loves people. And if all of this happens, there will be a great place for Ben. I don't know if he wants that, but I know he wants to help people. But there will be a great place. And General Flynn, another man who's just so incredible. Oh, boy, there's a tough general. I always talk about MacArthur. I'm a big fan of General Douglas MacArthur and General George Patton. And if they saw what was going on today with all the butchery and all of the problems, they're spinning in their grave right now at the way we fight. Because we have to end that problem. And this is a man that knows how to end problems. And General Flynn, along with General Kellogg and some of our other friends, we have so many friends. We have over 200 generals and admirals supporting us now. Can you imagine that? I didn't know they had that many. I didn't know they had that many generals and admirals. But we've had, and then the other day you probably saw that we had 17 Congressional Medal of Honor winners endorse me. So we had the admirals, we had the generals, and we had the Congressional Medal of Honor winners, and it's been really an amazing period of time. So I just want to thank everybody. And I want to thank the African American community, because I don't know if you've been watching, but the poll numbers are going like a rocket ship. It's amazing. I think initially, where I was very low, I think initially they didn't know what to expect. And as I spoke about the inner cities, which are in such trouble, and I spoke about instances like we're having today with Charlotte and Tulsa and problems, and we want to see that unify as quickly as possible. Those are two problems that we have to get that unified and taken care of. It's sad to see. But as I spoke about the inner cities and what I'll do, and it's interesting because I went down a list of problems in the inner cities, and I'd said this 3 or 4 times before, and I go down the list and we talk about the incredible crime. Incredible. Chicago, I think, has had 3,000 shootings, as an example, from just the beginning of the year. 3,000. And thousands of people are being killed, and it's very horrible. But I talked about the crime, I talked about the lack of education, the bad schools, and I talked about jobs. The jobs are just so bad. And I said it 3, 4, 5 times, and then one day I said, what do you have to lose? I mean, what do you have to lose? I'm going to fix it. What do you have to lose? And somehow that resonated. Some people didn't like it. But I said, what difference does it make? I mean, it's true. What do you have to lose? And it resonated, and it's been amazing how it's resonated, because it's true. The Democrats have run the inner cities for, in some cases, up to 100 years, unbroken. Unbroken. And we're very different. I'm different. And I'm different from a lot of Republicans, frankly. And that's why we're winning states that aren't even in play for other Republicans. I mean, as an example, somebody said we're up in Maine. Maine's not a state where Republicans are exactly, flocking to. But we're up in Maine. It's an amazing, amazing thing. We're doing great in Connecticut. We're doing great all over, actually. So we're winning Florida. We're winning Ohio. I see we're winning North Carolina. We're winning, it's just an amazing thing. We're winning Colorado. We're up 4 points. And we're up in other places that are just amazing places and great. And we're thrilled. We just had a very good poll from New Mexico. New Mexico. So we're winning areas that are not usually areas that people consider in play. That's why you're seeing the boards. Remember the boards 3 or 4 weeks ago? The whole electoral map. Well, Trump has a very... Now all of a sudden all these states are opening up. They're saying, wait a minute, what's going on here? And they're writing about it, and we are working very, very hard. And hopefully at the end. And I want to also, I have to thank Mike Pence. What an unbelievable person. And, the first time I met Mike, I liked him a lot. And he was very much considered that this was going to be his position. A lot of people wanted him to run. He's done it, right? He's run incredibly in Indiana, very, very popular, has one of the most successful states. They have a AAA bond rating. Their taxes have gone down. Their employment has been incredible. And they brought companies in, one of the few places that has actually brought companies. It's been a great story, and the story he's done is incredible. But the first time I met him, we had a wonderful meeting, lasted 20 minutes, And I actually asked him for his endorsement because I was running in Indiana, which we won in a landslide, which was true. And he couldn't do that because of the fact that he had other commitments, and he endorsed Ted Cruz. But the next day when he made the endorsement, I thought it was more of an endorsement for me because he started talking about how great Donald Trump is. Then he said, I'm voting for Ted Cruz, and let's get back to Donald Trump. The guy's unbelievable. In fact, Ted Cruz didn't know whether or not he was endorsed. Most people thought he endorsed me. I thought it was one of the great. But I liked him. Regardless. I liked him a lot. But he said something. After that first 15 or 20 minutes, I left. And he said, Donald, may we pray. Now, that doesn't happen too often coming from New York when I leave an office. It's usually like they have bad thoughts. Believe me, bad thoughts. But he said, did you know that, Pastor? He said, may we pray. Now Daryl's really inspired by Mike. But Mike is great. And we did pray. And Mike is great, and his family, Karen and the family, are incredible. So that was a really good choice. I wrote some things out that I think so much about. Thank you. Thank you. Stand up, Mike. Karen, stand up. Amazing. He's been an amazing partner, and he's all over the place. Yesterday he was in Virginia, and it was a downpour. They had a great group of people, and I never want him to get the kind of crowds I get, because I'll probably then get angry at him and jealous. But he'll teach me not to be jealous. Something Daryl's going to work on. But he had a great crowd yesterday in Virginia, and there was this massive downpour, like record-type setting, and they were all outside, I guess on a lawn, and they were drenched. And he said, called me up, he said, nobody left. And the press actually covered it. They said nobody left. They've never seen anything like it. And that's a good sign, because I think we're going to do really well in Virginia, too. So that's a good sign. So, Michael, thank you. And very special guy. And Omarosa, don't leave Omarosa. She's a wonderful woman. Don't leave. She's a wonderful woman. She has done so much for me with the African American community, with communities generally, and she's another one. She is such a fine person, and nobody knows it. And I just blew her income for the next 20 years. You are amazing, okay? And I just want to thank you very much for everything you've done. She works so hard. She feels so strongly. Thank you. Omarosa. I mean, I did help make her a star, in all fairness. I don't feel so guilty. So thank you. I wrote some things out having to do largely with inner cities, and the inner city right here. And I'll read it out for you, but I feel very strongly about it. So much can be done. So much can be done, and it's not being done. They come and they take your vote, and then they say, we'll see you in 4 years. Thanks a lot. And we'll see you in 4 years. And we're going to do it a lot differently. For centuries, the African American church has been the conscience of our country. It's from the pews, pulpits, and Christian teachings of black churches all across the land that the civil rights movement lifted up the soul of our nation. It's from these pews that our nation has been inspired toward a better moral character, a deeper concern for mankind, and a spirit of charity and unity that binds us all together. The African American faith community has been one of God's greatest gifts to America and to the American people. There is perhaps no action our leaders can take that would do more to heal, and I mean heal, our country and support our people than to provide a greater platform, stronger, greater, to the black churches and churchgoers. I was in Detroit recently with Bishop Jackson, who is an incredible guy also, and it was incredible what I saw. The love in that room, and I'm not saying the love for me, I'm just saying the love in that room for everybody. And the spirit even the song. His wife is a beautiful singer with a magnificent way. It was just amazing. I didn't want to leave. So it's great. You do right every day by your community and your family. You raise children in the light of God. I will always support your church and defend your right to worship, always. I will always be there. I am here today to listen to your message. And I hope my presence here will help, and very much help, your voice to reach new audiences. It's going to happen in our country. And these are people, believe me, many people out there that desperately need it. Christian faith is not the past, but the present and the future. It is the foundation of progress. And I pledge to you that if I win, some people say if and when, let's say if, because we have to be realistic, close race. But if you all go out and vote, we're going to win. But I pledge to you that we're going to end the Johnson Amendment, which takes away the voice of your pastors, your ministers, your great leaders, takes away their voice. We're going to end quickly the Johnson. That's so important. Thank you. It's taken away your voice. Passed in 1954 by a very powerful man, Lyndon Johnson, because he didn't get along with a certain church, they say, in Houston. Because the pastor was maybe against him, maybe not with him, maybe something was going on. It shows you the power of Lyndon Johnson. No respect. You have to respect it. But he had this past that takes away your leaders and your people that you most respect. People like Pastor Darrell Scott. He's not allowed to talk politics. If he does, they take away his tax exemption. So what they're doing is they're silencing your leaders. They're silencing the people that you want to hear. It's not fair, because they're the people I want to hear also. So we're going to get rid of the Johnson Amendment. As I campaign all across this nation and in every community, I will have an opportunity to lay out my plans for economic change. I will have a chance to discuss school choice, which is so important, and how to put every American on the ladder to success, meaning a great education and a great job. But today, I just want to let you know that I am here to listen. To you, I'm going to listen, and I'm always going to listen. It's a promise that I make. I'm running to be president for all Americans, every single one. Our nation is too divided. We talk past each other constantly, not to each other. And to those who seek office, we do not do enough to step in to the community and learn what is happening and what is going on. They don't do it. Again, they want your vote, and they're gone. I'm here today to learn so that we can together remedy injustice in all of its many very unattractive forms. Our political system has failed the people and works only to enrich itself. I want to reform that system so that it works for you, all of you. I believe true reform can only come from outside the system, from outside the establishment. Becoming the nominee of the party of Abraham Lincoln has been the greatest honor of my life. It's on his legacy that I hope to build the future of our party. I believe we need a civil rights agenda for our time, one that ensures the right to a good education and the right to live in safety and in peace. It also means the right, so true, so unsafe. When you see people being shot in the streets, walking to a store with their child, oftentimes their child being shot for no reason whatsoever. So sad. It also means the right to have a government that protects our workers and fights for our jobs. I want to rebuild our country, and I want to rebuild our inner cities. It's time. It's time. It breaks my heart to see any American left behind, or to see a city like Cleveland that has had so many struggles. Nothing is more sad than when we sideline young Americans with unfulfilled potential. You look at somebody like Don King, where he's become so successful. He just broke that system. He wouldn't take no. I mean, he's an amazing inspiration to so many people, including me. Our whole country loses out. We're one nation, and when anyone hurts, we all hurt together. That's the way it is. It's the way it should be, too. We are all brothers and sisters, and we're all created, everyone, created by the same God. We must love each other and support each other, and we're all in this together. I fully understand that the African American community has suffered from discrimination, and that there are many wrongs that must still be made right. I want to make America prosperous for everyone. I want to make this city the economic envy of the world. Here and Detroit and Baltimore, and there's so many places. We have so much work to do. Factories everywhere, new roads, new bridges, new schools, new hope. We're going to bring our jobs back. Our jobs have been taken away by inept politicians that don't know what they're doing. Our companies have left and gone to Mexico and other places. We're going to bring our jobs back, believe me. And it's not even going to be hard. I have been so greatly blessed, and in so many ways, with no greater blessing than my family. I have a wonderful family. Nothing would make me happier and more fulfilled than to use what I have learned in business and in traveling the world, I have been all over, to bring wealth and prosperity and opportunity to those who have not had these opportunities before. When I see wages falling, and falling big league, people were making more money 18 years ago in many cases than they're making today, and today they're working harder and they have 2 jobs. It's not supposed to be that way. I know the hardships this inflicts, and I am determined to do something about it. Please know this, for any who are hurting, things are going to turn, and turn for the better. We are going to win again as a country, and we are going to win again for all of our people, not just certain segments of our people, for all of our people. I want to work with you to renew the bonds of trust between citizens and the bonds of faith that make our nation strong. America has been lifted out of many of its most difficult hours through the miracle of faith. And you people understand that very well. Everybody in this room understands that, which is one of the reasons you're here. Now, in these hard times for our country, let us turn again to our Christian heritage to lift up the soul of our nation. I am so deeply grateful to be here today. And it's my prayer that America and the America of tomorrow will be one of unity, togetherness, peace, and love. We can do that. I'd like to conclude with a passage from 1 John chapter 4. No one has ever seen God, but if we love one another, God lives in us, and his love is made complete in us. So true. So, Pastor, I want to thank you. I want to thank the congregation. This has been a really great honor for me, and we have some interesting days ahead. We have a little debate on Monday night. A couple of you might be watching. Anybody going to watch it? And we have a very big election coming up on November 8th, so hopefully you can get out and vote. But again, to the African American community, to the Hispanic community, to all communities, I want to just say we're going to make it right. We're going to make it great. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you all.
Mr. Trump, we have a few questions that, come on, give it up. We have some questions that we solicited from the pastors. We have pastors here from all over the great state of Ohio. Some drove a long distance, and we asked them some questions that we would like for you to answer. Question number one: our failing public school systems are holding our children back. What is your plan to help our children get access to the best possible education, and what is your view on school choice?
We have to have choice. Choice is a must. And we have to end Common Core and bring education local. Common Core is a disaster. And we're going to have great education in our country. We don't have it now. But choice, very important, very, very important. And Common Core has to be ended. We're bringing education local, meaning our loving parents and all of the professionals. We're going to do it on a local basis, not with the bureaucrats. Okay?
Mr. Trump, our second question says, inner cities have been ravaged by violence and addiction. It has been spawned with tensions between law enforcement and our neighborhoods. How would you encourage peace and build safer communities?
Well, one of the ways is places just like this. You see what's going on in this room. And you have everybody in this room. You have Asian, you have white, you have black, you have everybody right here. And you see what's happening. So, I mean, that the churches are so important in all of our religious institutions. And the other thing, we have to stop the drugs from pouring in from across the border. We have a tremendous drug problem in Cleveland and in Ohio and in North Carolina and South Carolina and in New Hampshire. It's a tremendous problem, heroin in particular in New Hampshire. But we are, our country is being poisoned, and it's pouring across the southern border. And we are going to stop it, believe me. You know, the Border Patrol agents are great. 16,500, they endorsed us recently, and they endorsed Trump. First time they've ever endorsed a presidential candidate. We are going to stop the drugs from poisoning our youth, from pouring into our country, just poisoning our youth.
The African American community has traditionally voted Democrat. I mean, to be honest, we got strong opposition from the Democratic Party through the black community for this meeting. But they ain't stopping nothing here. You're making a strong case for the Republican vote this year. How can the conservative agenda help all of our communities?
Well, you know, it's not even about a conservative agenda. You've been trying and working in the inner cities with the Democrats for so many years, sometimes over 100 years. There are actually communities, and they're a disaster. The schools, the safety, the jobs, it's all horrible. I mean, in some cases, they're less safe than places like Afghanistan. You know, we hear about Afghanistan. Some of the inner cities are less safe. So I just tell you this, we are going to make such headway, such a change, and you know they're not going to do it. Because, Daryl, they've been doing it for 50, 60, somewhere, I mean, minimum is like 32, I think. There's one state, 32. Unbroken. Unbroken. And I say that, and some people, I told you before, some people love it, and some people don't like it that much. What do you have to lose? Can't get any worse. It really can't. The inner cities cannot get much worse. Perhaps they can, but not much. And I will fix it. What do you have to lose? I will fix it. So we're going to change it.
Just a couple more.
The number one issue plaguing so many families is the lack of jobs. Our families are struggling to find work. How do you pledge to grow the economy and create jobs for America?
Well, we have NAFTA, and these agreements, these trade deals are the worst deals anybody ever negotiated. NAFTA has destroyed our country. It's destroyed our manufacturing. Our manufacturing has gone to Mexico and all these other countries, and we're going to renegotiate those deals, and we're going to make them either very good and very fair, or we're going to terminate them. We'll start all over again. Believe me, we're going to bring our jobs back. We're going to bring our companies back that have left us, fired all their employees. We're going to bring them back. So that will be the thing. Maybe I originally started on that and illegal immigration. And we have to stop illegal immigration, by the way. We have to stop illegal immigration. And Hillary Clinton is not in any way, shape, or form capable of doing that.
Two more. This is a question that I believe each and every pastor in this room is concerned. Once this election is over, in what ways will you continue to engage the faith community? When we're not simply for votes or whatever, but will we have a continued access to the White House to speak what we perceive to be the voice of God to you?
Well, I can tell you a number of the ways are by getting you folks, Darrell, all of you, and Ben Carson and everybody totally involved with the communities. Because right now you don't have any involvement with Washington, very little. And the involvement that you have, which is a Common Core involvement, the involvement that you have is not a good involvement. We're going to be very much involved with the inner cities, and we're going to create incentives for the inner cities so that the inner cities can grow and produce jobs. And we're going to bring our jobs back from all these countries that have stolen them like we're a bunch of babies. It's like candy being taken away from a baby. That's the way they took it. And we're not going to let that happen anymore. Many of you folks have had great jobs and you don't have it anymore. Your company is gone. And you've never been able to replace that great job you had when you were younger. And we are going to bring our companies back, and we're going to bring our jobs back. Believe me, it is to a large extent about jobs.
Mr. Trump, this is, for most of the pastors and leaders here, this is a very big question. Much hinges on this. The question says the next Supreme Court justice will make decisions that will touch the rights of every American that may come to define the nature of our government and our society for many years. Will you stand strong on your suggested appointments and stay committed to naming only true constitutionalists to the bench?
Yes, the answer is yes. You know, as a 100%. 100%. Wow. Great. Beautiful. Beautiful. You know, that question and that response is amazing because I get it so many places. And you'll hear about these never-Trumpers who are dying faster. Right now they're on respirator, okay? Because the unity is becoming incredible. Just today in the Wall Street Journal, they have an amazing story about, an amazing Wall Street Journal story today about all of the support that we're getting from lots of rich people even. They're coming in. You know, these were never Trump, never Trump, never Trump, and now they're believing. They see lower taxes. They see cutting the regulations. They see job creation, which is so important. And it's really been amazing. And one of the things that they see and that you people see is that, and so important, the judges. So I picked 11 judges, very, very much into the world of the Constitution, because we have people that in some cases, not, I think in all cases, will have absolutely the Constitution will have no bearing on their decisions, okay, if somebody else gets it. And we picked 11, and we're adding 9 more. We're going to have a total of 20 people, and I will pick from that group of 20 people. These are 20 outstanding people. The rest of them, already 11 have been named. We're adding 9 more who are terrific. Very much Federalist Society choices, Heritage and Federalist. And they're really, really amazing judges, and I will pick from that group. And these judges, you know, we lost Judge Scalia, and these judges are very much the mold of Judge Scalia. So I think it's a very important, so important. So important, this election. So those people and those Republicans that aren't helping, they should be ashamed of themselves. Okay, they should be ashamed of themselves.
The final question. I know that's right. This is the final question. I just added it. It's a question that involves all Americans, not just black Americans. But it's a question that's on everyone's mind. And I feel honored to be able to ask you this question and for you to answer it for the first time, to address it for the first time, because I know the media is here. How y'all doing? And your response is going to reverberate around this planet. So you can take your time and think it through. What do you have to say about the recent shootings of unarmed black men by the police, up to and including the shooting in North Carolina on yesterday and the shooting in Tulsa the day before?
Well, as you know, I'm a tremendous believer in the police and law enforcement because we need that for ourselves. We do. And I've really gotten the endorsement from so many different groups, and they're great people. They're great people. Now, great people, you always have problems. You have somebody in there that either makes a mistake, that's bad, or that chokes. I must tell you, I watched the shooting in particular in Tulsa. And that man was hands up. That man went to the car, hands up, put his hand on the car. I mean, to me, it looked like he did everything you're supposed to do. And he looked like a really good man. And maybe I'm a little clouded because I saw his family talking about him after the fact. So you get a little bit, different image maybe. But to me, he looked like somebody that was doing what they were asking him to do. And this young officer, I don't know what she was thinking. I don't know what she was thinking. But I'm very, very troubled by that. I'm very, very troubled by that. And we have to be very careful. So, I mean, these things are terrible. That was, in my opinion, that was a terrible situation. And we've seen others. And the police are aware of that too. By the way, the police are troubled by it too. They look at it. Now, did she get scared? Was she choking? What happened? But maybe people like that, people that choke, people that do that, maybe they can't be doing what they're doing, okay? They can't be doing what they're doing. So, yeah.
Donald J. Trump, man of the people.
Yeah.
President of the United States.
Thank you. So we all respect our police greatly, and they will just have to get better and better and better. Thank you.
Let's put our hands together for Mr. Donald J. Trump. Listen, here's what I want you to do. I'm going to ask my wife, the one who does all the work in this church, and I get all the credit for it, but she's going to come. I want you to stretch your hands forth towards Donald Trump. I want Dr. Ben Carson to come, his lovely wife to come. I want the men of God here, Pastor Frank Amelia, Dr. J.C. Church, to lay hands on him, and she's going to pray. And I want you to stretch forth your hands, and I really want you to intercede on his behalf. Years ago, when we first met him and he was considering running for president, there was a great preacher there. I don't want to say his name, but he is nationally known. And he said something to you, I don't know if you remember. He said, I want you to understand, Mr. Trump, that if you choose to run for president, there's going to be a concentrated satanic attack against you. He said this over 5 years ago. He said there's going to be a demon, principalities and powers are going to war against you on a level that you've never seen before. And I'm watching this every day. So we're going to pray for him.
I want to first take this opportunity to thank Cleveland, Ohio. I want to thank all of the media that came out. I want to thank all of you men and women of God that came out. I want to thank all the leaders that came out. I want to thank all of you that took time out of your day. I remember when we won the championship, Cleveland Cavaliers won, and they kept saying there's going to be mess going on, there's going to be stuff going on. Cleveland is just a different place. We know how to conduct ourselves in Cleveland, and we represent very well. This is a monumental day. I have the pleasure of, I'm different from my husband in so many ways, more than just gender. You know, there's so much different. I am very sensitive about who I meet and who I get to know. I'm just that kind of a person. Not because I'm funny, but because I'm sensitive. And when I first met Mr. Trump, he walked through the doors of Trump Towers, and I thought, oh my, that's a very tall man. And I said, as he walked in, he immediately bowed his head. And my husband will tell you, and anyone, all our leadership, thank you, ministers of New Spirit Revival Center. You guys know that I pay attention to the details. I can't help it. I just walk into the room, pay attention to details. He immediately dropped his head, and he recognized that he was in the room with clergy. Mr. Trump has a reverence for clergy that I've never seen before in my 59 years of my life. I know it's hard for you all to believe that the man that they show in the media is different. I'm here to tell you, this is a different man. This is a unique man. This is a leader. This is a person that will be great for our nation. This is a person that will be good for black Americans. This is a person that will be good for black women, all right? This was a person that will be good for our nation. And most of all, my concern, whether you know me or not, this is a person that will be good for our military. This is a person that's going to make our nation safe, our country safe. We don't want a nation that we walk down the street and bombings will be happening every time. We don't want to be shot at for no reason. We want to visit our malls, go to our synagogues, go to our churches. I feel like preaching this morning. I want to be free in our nation, and I believe that Mr. Donald J. Trump will honor that freedom. And if y'all here know that the Spirit of the Lord is real, let's just let out a praise, not for the man, but for the God that we serve. Come on, y'all can do so much better than that. We are Americans, and we deserve to be free. We can buy what we want to buy, do what we want to do, be great if we want to be great. And I think Mr. Donald J. Trump will do that. And no, I didn't write this down because I can't follow the lines like they do. But I'm telling you, excuse me, sweetie, I know I went there, but you shouldn't have gave me the mic. I appreciate this man. I really appreciate Michael Cohen. I appreciate him. I didn't think God could create anybody like Darrell Scott, but I promise you, Michael Cohen and Mr. Trump are like Darrell Scott. I know y'all take the good parts. All right. I know the media went there on me. Don't go there on me. But I love this man. I thank you, sir. You didn't have to. Governor Pence, you and your wife, you guys didn't, Dr. Carson, you all, Marosa, all you didn't have to, Dr. Church, you all did not have to make this sacrifice to come front and center of leadership. It is a difficult place. How many pastors are here today? How many of you know leadership is difficult? And so we need someone that is honored, that will honor our beliefs and our faith and our feelings. And I really know for a fact that Mr. Donald J. Trump will do that. He's a family man. He's a businessman. He's got tremendous stamina. I don't know anybody that could get up on a plane and do all this stuff. He has 3 more meetings today. I appreciate this man. One more time, thank him for coming to Cleveland, because this wasn't on the schedule. Let's stretch our hands right now. Father, we thank you in the name of Jesus that you raise up a man for such a time as this. God, we ask you right now that your choice is this choice. We believe, Lord God, that you ordain things. You said all authority is of you. Now, God, I ask that you would touch this man, Donald J. Trump. Give him the anointing to lead this nation. We thank you, God, that as a room full of clergy, a room full of leaders, a room full of business owners, mothers, wives, husbands, fathers, we ask for help. And we ask you, God, to let that help be in the form of the next president, Mr. Donald J. Trump. We ask you, God, to bless him, keep him safe, give him the wisdom and the strength to lead this great nation. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank y'all so much for letting me go a little bit longer. God bless y'all.
Listen, Pastor Frank Amedia is going to come with closing remarks. He's going to pray the benediction. Immediately after, we're going to go for the town hall meeting. We're going to convene next door. You go out this way, go that way. We have a town hall meeting. Sean Hannity is here. That's another one of my brothers from another mother. I love that man, Sean Hannity, and he's here. And we're going to have a town hall meeting. I want to invite all of you to it. Some of you have been designated to sit on the stage. You already know who you are, so make your way over. But here's Pastor Frank Amedia. Let's